Have you ever been in a circumstance where you felt like other people didn't value you? Experienced situations where your achievements, significant efforts, or brilliant ideas were overlooked, or uncredited? Handling such situations can be difficult. Regretfully, even when you behave properly, make choices that benefit society as a whole and make yourself available, your value may be continuously and purposefully ignored by others. Attempting to win over those who don't appreciate your efforts might result in disappointment, and fixing the circumstances might be challenging, which is a very depressing experience. When it concerns intimate connections like a partner, family, or pals, Stoic philosophy holds that it is pointless to expect praise from others, because it is outside of our control and might not come to pass, so it is recommended not to wait for it, because that can make you frustrated. But there are ways to perhaps take precedence and acquire recognition by comprehending and implementing the next guidance. Practical to accomplish this goal, these 9 steps provide instructions on how to always prioritize the people you care about. Now that the problem is obvious, it's time to change your strategy by discovering the answer. Let's begin. I strongly advise you to follow this video through to the end, because each step contains music. Using emotional dynamics to foster the fear of losing you. Importance of Step 1. Fostering the fear of losing you by means of emotional loss aversion is a psychology theory that states that the fear of losing something is frequently more powerful than the attraction of obtaining it, and carefully using this idea can have a big influence. Way others view and value you in their lives by meticulously creating a setting that creates a feeling of possible loss. You encourage a greater emotional commitment to preserving thee. The key to this tactic is the intentional introduction of emotional distance, which comprises a deliberate change in your conduct, characterized by a decrease in the disclosure of private information. By restricting the previously developed emotional intimacy, you create a sense of uncertainty that leads to the another individual to re-evaluate the importance of the relationship, while simultaneously focusing your time and focus amidst other people, highlights the fact that your attention is not only focused on the individual in issue. Actively participating in a larger social circle conveys the idea that your life is complex and that you find contentment in a variety of relationships. This variation quietly conveys that the other individual is not the only focal point of your world. However, the fear of losing a tactic can be incredibly effective, but it takes skill and a sharp awareness of the fine line that separates avoiding total emotional control from instilling a sense of urgency. Detachment. Excessive distance could be interpreted by the other person as desertion or lack of interest, interfering with all attempts to reconnect. Therefore, the key is in using this technique sparingly and sensibly is essential to GOI the person's emotional sensitivity and the character of your partnership before putting this tactic into practice. Knowing the other person's emotional landscape enables you to customize your strategy, making sure that the dread of loss is presented in a subtle way, striking the ideal balance between instilling a sense of urgency and preventing irreparable harm. The hallmark of successful communication is keeping a basis for reconnection, use in negotiating the complex aspects of interpersonal relationships. The fear of losing you can be strategically evoked to act as a potent catalyst for rebuilding priority by deftly coordinating effective dynamics and presenting a determined amount of distance and broadening your social circle. You encourage a re-evaluation of the relationship's worth. This psychological technique, when used carefully, can clear the path for a revitalized and valued relationship. Step 2. Increasing your worth by increasing your value in relationships by fostering unavailability. fostering unavailability in relationships. The idea that quality is more important than quantity strikes a deep chord in the complex web of linkages, highlighting how connections' depth and importance frequently exceed the amount of time spent together. Purposefully developing unavailability is in line with this idea, offers a sophisticated method for establishing yourself as a true priority in someone's life. According to the idea of quality over quantity, the importance of your presence in someone's life is increased by the depth and significance of your conversations, as opposed to just how much time you have available. While being present and reachable is essential, but being too accessible carries a risk of being stolen. Granted, the objective is to achieve a balance that highlights the significance rather than making everything completely inaccessible. The cultivation of unavailability in your presence does not imply inflexibly, rather, to controlling the conditions of your availability. It emphasizes the significance of putting your wants first in the relationship if there are frequent changes. And when your relationships are marked by accommodations, it's important to reassess and make sure that when availability corresponds with your personal health, this rebalancing sends a strong message on the value of respect for one another and one's own self-worth. A key component of creating unavailability is communicating a feeling of autonomy and a life outside of relationship, which emphasizes that your environment is not just about you, but also about several aspects. By demonstrating a self-sufficient and contented life outside the relationship, in which you express the value of your time and not constantly awaiting their attention, this small change in perspective improves. The success of this method depends on finding the ideal balance between the perceived value of your presence and keeping your accessibility at a level that encourages interaction without going overboard and making you appear less. Creating a dynamic where your availability is a conscious choice is the aim. Making a decision that emphasizes the value of your time together and strategically cultivating availability encourages the other person to see your worth in the relationship. To acknowledge and value the special qualities you contribute to the relationship, creating a stronger feeling of this subtle way to appreciation motivates people to actively prioritize and look for your company's recognition. Because in the complex dance of relationships, it is not a constant commodity. Developing unavailability is a potent tactic to increase the perceived worth of your presence by demonstrating the value of quality over quantity, putting your needs first, and by portraying a life outside of the relationship, you establish yourself as a sincere and important priority, affecting the sensitive. Maintaining a balance between independence and accessibility guarantees that your presence is checked, promoting a more profound and step 3, creating intrigue for a deeper connection. Creating interest in relationships by embracing a little mystery. Humans are naturally drawn to mystery and enigma. Therefore, accepting a little ambiguity in relationships is a strong force in relationship dynamics. The attraction of learning new things intentionally adds a sense of mystery to establish a compelling and unforgettable connection. Can pique someone else's interest and improve your reputation in their eyes. The secret to using mystery is in the practice of gradually disclosing personal information, rather than disclosing all at once. Provide subliminal clues about your interests, pastimes, and life experiences. Technique enables the other individual to participate in a process of exploration, creating a feeling of excitement and interest in learning more about you. Another useful tactic is to answer inquiries that are somewhat ambiguous, yet sincere communication is crucial. Refusing to reveal all the details right away adds to the sense of mystery that this strategy fosters. interest and encourages the other individual to devote time and energy to exposing the layers in your personality by exploring. In the early phases of a relationship, going too much into your history can eliminate the air of mystery rather than being overly intrusive about past events, is to let your past develop gradually, weaving a story that keeps the other person interested and involved. The main goal is to maintain interest throughout. By preserving a sense of mystery throughout time, you may sustain interest in your persona over time. The way your personality develops keeps the relationship lively and motivates the other person to see you as a goal that is worthwhile to devote time and energy to. Comprehending and adopting carefully places you as a compelling presence in someone's life with a sense of mystery. The artistic balance of uncertainty in self-disclosure and limited historical investigation result in a captivating story that piques interest as the other person grows more fascinated by the possibility of being seen as a top priority in their lives develops, creating the groundwork for a lasting and significant meaning. Developing prioritization with careful investment. Step 4 of the connection process involves cultivating prioritization through careful. The recognition that people are more likely to see investment at the core of this step you as a top priority after they have invested much in your relationship. The idea of reciprocity is crucial in this case, as those who spending time, energy and feelings increases the likelihood that the relationship in question will be valued. Finding a careful balance to encourage investment without generating feelings of allowing someone to spend time with you at a distance becomes a powerful way to encourage. By periodically rejecting plans, you establish a situation where someone else has to work hard to protect your time, and this methodical approach shows that your time is the delicate art of giving them weight. Occasionally adds a hurdle, because they are costly and difficult to obtain. Encouraging them to reconsider and make your presence a top priority is a crucial component of. This tactic encourages investment while preserving a cautious balance. Is essential, but it's also critical to avoid putting too much gap between you and the dance of availability and unavailability is necessary to achieve the proper equilibrium, making sure that the other moderation is essential to avoiding extremes so that the person feels the task without becoming overwhelmed, avoids unforeseen effects and promotes the intended result of being regarded as a priority. The efficacy of this method depends on how carefully it is used, reaching to extremes either by being available all the time or putting too much distance between you and other people can cause unexpected consequences of being unavailable. Too much could drive someone away. Defeating the purpose of encouraging prioritization. The trick is to use this tactic sparingly, resulting in a dynamic that is healthy and promotes investment without causing emotional. The core of this strategy is the deliberate creation of difficulty through distance, which enables the other person to put some work into yourself, and you create a sense of challenge that makes people re-evaluate and prioritize. Your presence and this small change in dynamic help to create a sense of importance and priority. Situation where the relationship is more important because of the investment. Trying to get someone to invest in you is a subtle yet effective way to approach in an effort to be seen as a top priority. The dynamics of the creation of challenge, play, and reciprocal time as a precious currency, important functions in this nuanced strategy of careful management that strikes the finding. The ideal balance and preventing unforeseen repercussions are crucial components that help achieve the intended result in the interpersonal dynamics. Encouraging investment turns into a tactical instrument for fostering relationships, where setting priorities is a logical next step, increasing your self-worth by putting your needs first in relationships. 5 ways to increase your self-worth in relationships by putting your needs first includes self-affirming behavior that must be distinguished from selfishness entails making deliberate decisions to stay away from circumstances where your value is diminished if there is knowledge that setting your needs first means avoiding people who won't treat you with the respect you deserve. Partnerships. The goal is to create spaces where your intrinsic worth is recognized, and reciprocity is a crucial component of putting your needs first. And deliberately staying out of circumstances that diminish your value if or when a relationship or connection continuously fails to recognize your value. Reversing course turns into an act of maintaining your dignity by avoiding rude or contemptuous exchanges. By creating relationships with people who truly value you, you create the conditions for being seen as a priority in someone's life. Thus, it's crucial to be surrounded by others who appreciate the putting your needs first, since deep relationships are based on respect for one another, and relationships based on mutual respect and active prioritization foster an atmosphere that is favorable to. This strategy helps people perceive you as a valued priority in the eyes of others, which leads to real connections. Understanding that you cannot control another person's emotions is essential to putting your needs first, although you cannot directly control how other people see you, you may affect the dynamics of a relationship. Put you first, the emphasis switches to developing self-worth and self-perception. By recognizing this limit, you give yourself the ability to build respectful relationships. Instead of trying to make someone's life revolve around controlling how others perceive them, the first step is making certain that you have a priority in your own life. Entails building a strong sense of self-worth and acknowledging your intrinsic value. When you put your needs and actively participate in connections that return the favor, you help create having a positive self-image, and being confident makes you a magnet. Prioritizing your needs in relationships is a complex process that involves attracting people who value and prioritize you. Approach that transcends self-interest and entails making deliberate decisions to surround yourself with people who value your priorities in return by avoiding disrespectful circumstances and cultivating a favorable view of yourself. You laying the foundation for being seen as a priority in the complex web of interactions. By putting your needs first becomes a pillar for developing relationships that respect and value, creating allure with a harmonious distance. Human psychology is the 6th phase in creating aura through a balanced distance. Frequently fascinated by the seemingly elusive idea of scarcity, which states that as perceived effort increases, it is commonly known that desire exists and that the grass is always, conversely, greener, captures the human inclination to gravitate toward what seems impossible to translate into relationships with other people. Phase promotes using the allure of the impossible to increase the other person's interest in you. At this step's main focus is on strategically avoiding making someone the center of your life. The goal is not to encourage emotional detachment, but rather to communicate that your life is multidimensional and not just focused on their purposeful presence. Method gives the impression that you are not vying for their attention, which sets up a situation where the other person starts to gradually increase your value, while keeping a set amount of distance becomes a calculated tactic to increase appeal. It does not signify total emotional detachment, but rather a balanced strategy in which you incorporate numerous significant aspects of your life outside of when properly managed. This distance can serve as a catalyst for escalating the other person's wish for your presence when the dynamics are being played out. The deliberate avoiding of making someone the focal point of your life creates an atmosphere in which they start to recognize your worth more fully. A sense of curiosity and desire is sparked by realizing that your life involves many facets outside of the relationship. The natural evolution of perception is aided by this slow appreciation. As a top priority, the secret to carrying out this plan effectively is keeping a careful balance, even while the objective is to prevent making the other person the only focus. It's important not to establish an excessive amount of emotional distance. Finding the ideal balance entails careful navigation that makes sure the distance increases appeal without causing unexpected. Using a balanced distance to craft a lure is a strategic step in understanding and utilizing the lure of the unachievable, avoiding the want to be seen as a priority. The successful execution is facilitated by strategic distance management and a desperate need for attention. Using this strategy by developing an awareness of your worth and keeping a careful balance, this step turns into an effective shaping tool. Relationship dynamics in which setting priorities is both desired and natural. The seventh outcome phase in communication initiation is strategic retreat. Initiating communication with a strategic retreat is the foundation of any relationship, and the dynamics of the person who starts it can gently influence how people see it. But it might seem natural to take the lead if you want to be a priority. The opposite is frequently true when one individual continuously assumes the role of the initiator, could unintentionally begin to take these efforts for granted, resulting in a slow decline in initial perceived importance, which restricts communication initiation. May seem odd, but shouldn't aggressively displaying interest attempting to contact you. But the strategic retreat from persistent leadership fulfills a given function by avoiding taking the initiative all the time. Gap that forces the other person to take the initiative. This small change can have significant effects on their perception of your importance in their lives. Strategic retreat entails a deliberate choice to stop being the main initiator and watch the following dynamic. If the other individual truly appreciates the relationship, they are likely to acknowledge the change and try to close the communication gap. Their instinctive reaction shows that they understand how important you are, and the foundation of this phase is a shared commitment to preserving the relationship. Limiting initiation while fostering sincere engagement on both parties may seem similar to withdrawing. It functions to enable the other individual to actively express their interest in the partnership. This mutual interaction strengthens the genuineness of the connection, making sure that communication attempts are fair and show respect for one another. That using a strategic retreat when initiating conversation does not indicate a lack of interest. Recalibrating the dynamics to promote a more balanced relationship is the aim, not establishing emotional distance. And mutual relationship. This deliberate pause in beginning serves as a request for the other individual to actively engage in the dialogue. Dynamic strategic retreat. A deliberate step in changing the dynamics of a communication is communication commencement. By deliberately reducing your role as the main initiator in the relationship, you make room for the other individual to assume that role, demonstrating their understanding of your significance. This step is a delicate dance that calls for careful attention to detail and a subtle. When used carefully, an awareness of common interest can be a potent instrument in creating a relationship in which both sides actively support its development and upkeep. Step 8. The art of the craft of fostering individual contentment, fostering satisfaction in oneself. The appeal of obtaining enjoyment from other people is indisputable, yet it comes with intrinsic dangers of depending entirely on another person. For joy provide the conditions for possible letdown, and this dependence may result in a decline of personal agency, as one complies with the other's goals and priorities, creating an atmosphere where resentment is prioritized in someone's. According to them, life is about making a positive impact on society as a whole, not just about landing a POS job. the fabric of their lives, and the secret to fostering your own pleasure is creating joy from inside you in order to achieve this precise equilibrium. Not only protect your long-term health, while simultaneously exuding self-awareness and equilibrium. Self-sufficiency is a magnet that attracts people due to its intrinsic attractiveness. When you radiate enjoyment that comes from your own pursuits, people will notice. Passions and joy, you become a positive influence on other people's lives. This happiness that you create for yourself is an appeal for others to interact with you more deeply, understanding that their own happiness is enhanced by your presence. And fostering personal happiness requires an honest interaction with your passions, interests, and goals, while engaging in activities that provide you joy. Not only enhances your life, but also helps you reflect honesty in your true delight. These pursuits serve as a light to let people know that you are living a happy life according to your own terms. The ripple relationship dynamics are impacted by personal satisfaction. When you are independently happy and contented, you radiate positive energy to those around you, and this positivity turns into an essential component of how people see you, confirming the notion that your presence is a source of richness rather than reliance. And pursuing happiness for oneself does not take away from the beauty of interdependence in relationships. Rather, it enhances them when people contribute. Partnerships become a joyful dance of shared joys rather than a struggle for personal fulfillment. Reliance on outside sources of enjoyment. This equilibrium is the core of being a top priority in the strategic journey's grand conclusion. The focus shifts to developing your own pleasure within is a profound endeavor rather than a self-serving one. Commitment to your health and consequently your relationships as you exude. When you achieve self-fulfillment, you turn into a beacon that draws people in and invites them to partake in the depth of a relationship. Where the joy of each person is a colorful thread in the fabric of shared joy, this phase is a celebration of personal fulfillment and honesty. Step 9. The art of relationship transformation. The transforming power it contains. The art of being prepared to leave. Are you prepared to leave? It might be frightening to consider separating from someone you love, and full of emotional complexity, yet it's a crucial first step in expressing your worth. By being prepared to go, you send a strong indication that you are ready to demand the respect and priority you are due and will not accept anything less. Fundamentally, walking away is a bold proclamation of one's own value, that the proper person will appreciate your presence in any relationship. After realizing this, it will be drawn to try to keep you because of your intrinsic value. In their lives, in the area of activities that you can manage, making sure that your behavior that is consistent with moral principles is paramount. This step is not about having fun, games, or controlling feelings. Rather, it's a dedication to doing the right thing. For your happiness and well-being, operating with integrity guarantees that your choices are based on sincerity and honesty. Realizing that not every action will be recognized right away is an essential part of this process. Accredited individuals cannot always appreciate the contributions you make, particularly if they are used to you being there all the time. Patience turns into a virtue as you manage the unknowns of how people will interpret your willingness to go. Being prepared to go is a process that takes time and patience as you enter the world of self-respect. It's crucial to recognize and value yourself. Develop self-assurance and a steadfast conviction in the importance of your presence. This admiration for yourself turns into a compass as you negotiate the challenges of connections over time. As you continuously maintain your dedication to respecting yourself and giving priority to your well-being, people will inevitably start to value your presence. Being prepared to go acts as a catalyst for a radical change in how people view you. It's not an instant gratification, but a slow acknowledgement of your inherent worth in the ability to walk away is a freeing manifestation of self-respect in the fabric of relational dynamics. Is a recognition that, although initially intimidating, your journey entails interactions that are consistent with your worth. STEP becomes a life-changing action that opens doors for partnerships in which you are not just a choice, but a treasured priority. It is an in-depth exploration of the world of self-love and recognition, laying the groundwork for relationships that are genuine. And here is the conclusion, to summarize the rationale behind these 9 stages on prioritizing reciprocity in other. Please make an effort to fully comprehend people's life. We have all had these experiences, where we feel ignored or undervalued, but it's crucial to keep in mind that everyone's life path is different, and that other people's priorities may not accurately represent our value. Rather of letting these circumstances lower our self-esteem, we can make use of these opportunities as chances for personal development. The secret is to put oneself first, taking eventually. If we take care of our happiness and well-being, people will start to notice and value you. Even if you're not at the top of other people's lists, you deserve to be remembered. You deserve to prioritize yourself, and you can and should do so. Self-centeredness, self-compassion, and self-determination. By doing so, we can create more wholesome connections. Thank you for watching as we make decisions that are more in line with our objectives and lead more contented and significant lives. If this material is beneficial to your life, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll be leaving. I've included 2 videos that you might find interesting shortly.